Hello, everyone. It's the JVL here with my colleague Sam Stein from the Bulwark. Sam,
what's up, man?
Elon having a bad last 12 hours?
It seems improbable, but yeah, I think he is. Wait, before we get to it, subscribe to the feed. Got to get everyone to subscribe to the feed. Read the New York Magazine piece on the Bulwark. It's great. Elon, yeah. So last 12 hours have been interesting. Look, I don't want to overstate it because he's disruptive and he's going to move on to another target. And look, we have a 5 p.m. deadline today for deferred resignations for government employees. So expect a lot of chaos around that. But it's pretty evident here and there that his stature is falling a little bit. So 3 stories that I want to get to, and I'm curious what you think about it. First is we have this Wired story and then Wired's been doing great work covering the administration, really fantastic. But they have people in Donald Trump's inner circle saying, look, his takeover of government is causing rifts. People are not always in the loop, and then they feel like he gets ahead of them and then causes controversy. Makes a lot of sense because Trump's always built his empire in fiefdoms that war with each other, and then if you get too big, they cut you down. The other thing happened last night, a little bit of an obscure one, but I think an important one. It's a story. NBC has a story, but it was off a court proceeding. Basically, backstory is Elon's DOGE team got access to the Treasury Department payment systems. That's more or less the bank. Yeah. Well, sure. It's not fine, obviously. $6 trillion that go out of the government. You would probably want some guardrails. The question was, what were they doing with it, right? It's like proprietary information, but also like it's like telling your bank. If the bank were to be like, look, we're not going to give you these, this deposit because we don't like it, we'd be freaked out. And that's what essentially was the possibility here. Anyways, they brought it to court to make sure that Elon's Doge guys weren't getting administrative access. And the judge said, reach an agreement. And if not, I'm going to issue some sort of injunction. And they reached an agreement in which the Doge team, only 2 members of it, can have only read-only access to this payment system. So that is finally, at least we think, a guardrail that's been imposed. And then lastly, there's a couple polls out that I think are really interesting that show Elon's popularity is dipping. Morning Consult does a tracking poll. They have his approval at 39% and his disapproval rating at 49%. But there was another poll that The Economist did, and Bill Crystal noted it in his write-up at Morning Shots today. Basically, in November, people were broadly comfortable with Elon doing his thing. Now that poll says 13% want him to have a lot of influence, 25% want him to have a little influence, and 46% want him to have none at all. So, I mean, Trump might be actually fine with this because it's, the guy over there who's taking all the arrows. Right. But Elon's definitely taking arrows.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts on this. First of all, we are now in a world where the idea that a couple 19-year-olds who couldn't possibly pass security clearances only have read-only access to the entire Treasury payment system is a victory.
That's it. Just read. They can read it.
That's now a victory. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big victory.
Yeah. Second, there is I want to talk about Elon because Elon is not an attractive personality in a way that Trump is. Like, Trump is like a Catskills stand-up comedian, right?
Yeah,
he's doing Borscht Belt shtick, and he's an entertainer at heart. And Elon is just this weird asshole who likes to spend his time playing video games for 17 hours on end,
or hire people to play video games.
Or hire people to play video games. Then he can stream himself playing video games. And I think he is an almost perfect person to make the face of Trumpism and, in fact, the face of the billionaires. So this is like the classic Saul Alinsky rules for radicals, right? You find a guy like Elon and you freeze him and you just focus everything on him and you make him the stand-in for all of the bad people.
Oh, I totally agree. And the idea that, look, I think obviously USAID and what they're doing to USAID is not put it this way: it's a little bit more of a tricky political target for Trump opponents because it's foreign aid. It doesn't affect people. Don't think it affects us here. But let's say, in theory, that his next target is the Department of Education, right? Which seems to be on the chopping block. I think people will recoil at the idea that, oh my God, this guy's going to endanger student loans or education standards. The richest man on the planet is going to hurt the poorest people's student loans. Like that seems, if you can't make good politics out of that, you probably should not be in politics.
Yeah, I mean, I would not engage on student loans. I think that's bad ground.
I would, but that's fine. Fair enough. There are other places.
No, I'm just saying that having watched the Biden thing, I think student loans is a sour spot where if you are pro like doing something about student loans, nothing that the government does is enough for you. And so we saw that with Biden, right? A lot of people who like got their student loan
forgiveness, they didn't care.
They were like, this is, he only forgave X dollars and I wanted mine. And then you have other people who are just like, why are the people I hate getting money when I want to be getting money? So
okay, fine. Put student loans aside. Any other element of the social safety
does give a lot of aid to like local schools. Right. There's a lot of federal money comes down to local schools. And I think that's where you hit him. Like he's hurting your local public schools.
The richest man on the planet has decided he wants to get rid of aid for local schools and special education funding. And all because he wants to modernize the government. I mean, that's which
is, of course, crazy. It's not actually about modernizing the government.
No.
So I think you can really go very hard at him. And also, I mean, Elon's the kind of guy who, when you go hard at him, says stuff that hurts him. And so, if you start tagging him for like hurting special ed at the local levels, he's going to say something very, very bad about kids who are in special education. Right. And I think that would be helpful.
It's like the infamous one where what was the people who were rescued from the cave and he called them a pedophile.
Pedophiles, right? Yeah. He called the guy
who did
himself. No, he can't help himself.
Now the other thing I noticed is and I'm curious what your thoughts are. There are like little inklings that Trump wants him to go away a little bit. So a couple was it a week ago, Trump put out some statement that Elon was going to go down and man the sort of rescuing of the abandoned spacecraft or whatever it was.
Right, he was going to go do it himself.
He's going to go do it. And it felt like Trump was like trying to push him off the stage. And obviously Elon has not gone and done that. Elon has stayed in DC and done everything else. And then the other day, we got a tweet from the Department of Transportation being like, the FAA, Elon's people are plugging into the FAA and they're going to, optimize our system and so on and so forth. And that also felt like Trump being like,
they're going to do for the FAA what Tesla has done for self-driving.
I'm super excited to fly in a week and a half. I got to be honest.
Sounds great.
But that's the other thing. It's like when something bad now happens, and it does because bad things happen all the time. Yeah, I mean, now it's on Elon. But my point is that they're trying to find these projects that are more in his wheelhouse, and he's not taking it. At least that's my read of it.
Well, here's the thing. So Elon is useful for Trump as a shit catcher. He's just out there, and Trump wants to wreck things and cause chaos, so he can just deputize. I mean, Elon is basically his vigilante. He's just told him go break stuff, and because Elon is so high profile, when stuff gets broke, like it isn't. I said this on TNL last night. It isn't like Russ Vogt breaking things. Like if Russ Vogt breaks things, 2% of America knows who he is. But when Elon does, like everyone's like, oh, Elon Musk did that, and that's useful for Trump because bad stuff, bad outcomes, and so I think eventually he'll be willing to push Elon over once Elon is more trouble than he's worth. Right now, he's not more trouble than he's worth. But the other thing is, inside MAGA, they hate Elon. And that's the other thing, right? So there's
a sliver of MAGA who really hates Elon. And then there's like this new age online MAGA who sort of worships at the altar of Elon. But like the OG MAGA, Bannon.
But there's
love the guy.
Right. There's the difference, right? The difference is that the OG MAGA are actual like Island of Misfit Toys populists, whereas the tech MAGA are not populist at all. They're monarchists. Like what they want is for Elon Musk to be king, and they want to subjugate the serfs and all that. They want feudalism.
And it's interesting to watch because I've been fascinated by, this is going a little bit sideways, but Breitbart, the outlet that is so closely associated with Bannon, although I don't think he has any formal role right now. They're like kind of and they're playing an outsized role right now in Washington D.C. media. Matt Boyle is at the White House. He's probably one of the more influential reporters in D.C. right now. They've been like kind of like treating Elon pretty well, even though Steve Bannon hates the guy. And I wonder what kind of internal tensions are happening there, where that the sort of intellectual movement from which you were birthed doesn't like Elon, views him skeptically and suspiciously, thinks he's way too tied to China. And at the same time, you're, trying to prop up or at least support the Trump administration. Yeah. And this guy's playing such an incredible role. So, it's a fascinating story. I do wonder when it ends. I think everyone sort of is in agreement that it will end and not in a particularly great way. But I do wonder how long this lasts for.
I mean, how long it lasts for or how long it feels like it lasts for? Because it feels like we've been doing 6 months of internecine warfare. I mean, the answer is these things always end badly. There is no revolutionary movement in all of history where it ends with all of the factions getting along and making peace with one another. Right. Like somebody gets airbrushed off of the sofa. And I think that is likely to be Elon. I think the only thing that if it's not Elon, then we're in real freaking trouble at that point. But yeah, I think that's right. I mean, Elon is more dangerous. I don't know. I think you and I have talked about this before. I suspect Elon will try to run for president at some point, and that he'll just assert that he's doing it, and people will be like, "Oh, it's crazy, he can't do it." And then some state party will put him on the ballot, and like, what do you know?
Challenge it to the Supreme Court, yeah.
Right. Then what happens? Yeah. I don't know. We are in the worst possible timeline, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I think it's pretty bad, Sam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is great. This is great. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel where we will bring you more bad news for as long as bad news keeps happening.
Yeah, no, we're just going to be
for the rest of all of our lives.
Yeah, we're not sugarcoating this, okay? Thanks, man. Good talking to you this morning.
Hit follow, hit subscribe. Good luck, America.